All right, yay, it worked. Look at that. I'm learning stuff. Okay, so all you got to do is do the bumper where you say, hey, this is Alex and Lex.
Really?
Really?
And Lex.
Alex and this is Alex and Lex.
I've been renamed.
I can't look at your name and say it at the same time. So the Skype
The
window
X's.
has got the Alex and Lex. I don't know why I do that.
You know what had happened? I was on a telesummit and the same thing happened. She called me Alex and Lex.
That's awesome.
And when I used
the
to...
X is there, and it's like, it
I
must be
know.
Alex. It's got to be. Okay, so you know what to say. Just say it.
This is Alice and Lex, and you're listening to Vroom Vroom Veer.
That's right.
I can say it again a little bit better. If
You have to say it really cool. You got to
right.
say like, hey, this is Alex and Alex. Yeah, go, do it.
Now, do you only have listeners on iTunes? Or do you have a website too?
I have a website too.
All right. Is it vroomvroomveer.com?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I got to make sure I don't say my name wrong.
It's Alice and Lex. I did it. Yay.
Hey, this is Alice and Lex, and you're listening to Vroom Vroom Veer at vroomvroomveer.com.
Woo. Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
I can do another one on iTunes.
No, that's fine. You're cool.
I don't know.
But you should say, this is Alex. This is Alice. You put your URL in there
Okay.
from rockyourmarketing.com.
All right.
And you're like that.
All right. Hi, this is Alice and Lex from rockyourmarketing.com, and you're listening to Vroom Vroom Veer.
Yay. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Alexon.
Just call me Alex.
Your name's Alexon now.
Actually, you know what's really funny is when I sign my name, I typically use my first initial and my last name,
Alex.
which is Alex.
That's awesome.
So I am Alex and Lex.
You are Alex and Lex. It's a thing now. Now I'm just going to have to call you Alexon.
Just all the time.
All the time. That's it.
That's all right.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Paul Maskill, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. How's it going?
It is going awesome. It's still a little slightly gloomy. Oh, the sun's coming out. Damn it.
Life is rough.
Yeah.
Life is rough in California.
Right. Life is rough, but we had gloomy morning, which is, like I said in the pre-show chat, that's a good indication of a good day here in SoCal in the summer anyway. So
Nice.
It's going well.
You got to stay cool out there.
You got to stay cool. And, I don't have like central air,
Wow.
So if it gets super hot, I got to go to the library or the mall or the movie.
Or go to the beach and enjoy some nice breeze
not much
coming off the ocean.
Yeah, that's an option. Or go jump in the pool or something. But
oh, man.
so rough, right?
Yeah, those are some problems. First world problems.
Yes, first world problems. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about what Paul Maskill has going on today. And people can find out more about that at franchisetga.com/VVV, right?
You got it.
Triple V. Yeah. So you are now an operations strategist. Is that about right?
Yeah, so I work with TGA, as you mentioned in the URL. So TGA Premier Golf and Tennis. I am their business development director. So I work with franchise owners and potential franchise owners in really putting together their business, putting systems and people and processes in place, financial analysis, all the things that go into operating a business. So TGA runs golf and tennis programs for kids. Started actually out in your neck of the woods, out in LA. 2003.
Wow.
Mainly after school golf and tennis programs. The goal is to get more kids playing golf and tennis, make it accessible. Our kind of slogan is we believe sports change lives, so making sports more accessible, teaching kids all the inherent values, character development, rules, and etiquette. And really, once it was a success in Southern California, franchised it out, and now we got franchises all over the place in North America and even a couple out in Spain. So that's what I'm. Yeah, so
I
that's
hope
what I'm
you get
doing
to travel
now.
to Spain.
Yes, that's in the plan. So yeah, I
Good
do
for
not
you.
do not turn down an opportunity to travel to Spain.
No way. Spain's awesome. Spain was my, I did an Air Force assignment. The one right before my Los Angeles assignment was in England. And
Okay.
I don't know. Have you ever been to England?
I have not been to England. I have not made it that way yet.
So here's the deal with England, right? People tell you it's cold and wet in the wintertime, right? And, what do you think when you hear it's cold and wet in the wintertime? Right, you're from Michigan, right? You go,
Yeah.
who cares? It's cold and wet, whatever, right?
Right.
Is there snow? And they
Exactly.
go, no, not really,
Could be
unless you're
worse.
way up north, right? You think, could be worse. But then you get there, right? And you experience the actual cold and wet to which they refer, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is soul-sucking
Horrible.
coldness and wetness and dark. Oh my goodness, so dark. It's
So
like
you-
they make the roads out of light absorbing material or something.
Yeah. So you had to go to Spain. Is that where this is going?
Yes.
To get out of the cold, wet, dark.
After the first winter, both my wife and I got that seasonal affective disorder, not diagnosed. We were just bummed. Where that you're not getting enough light in your body.
Yeah,
So
you needed some vitamin D.
So one year we went to Mallorca, which is the island off the coast of Spain. Amazing. And then the next year we went to Costa del Sol, which is, coast of sun, right?
Yeah, the total opposite of a London winter.
That's right. Exactly. So that's what you got to do if you live in England. Anyway, let's get into the Paul Maskill superhero origin story.
Sure.
Are
What do you
ready?
want?
Where do you want to start? When you got bit by that radioactive spider in high school?
Yeah. So we can go back to high school. Like you, I'm a fellow Michigander, so I grew up in Michigan, lived there my whole life until graduating from college in 2007. And there was not much going on in Michigan in 2007. The economy was going down, and the financial crisis was on its way. So I moved to Chicago with the dream of climbing that corporate ladder with a finance degree in hand. So getting a finance degree during a financial crisis was probably not the best plan, but 4 years before that, it was a great plan. So
Sure.
started working in corporate America and building somebody else's business and working for somebody else, and really just being a corporate drone sitting in cubicles forever, watching people get laid off and just taking on more work without getting
feeling.
paid anymore. So I guess that was I was rooming on my way to Chicago, finance degree in hand, climbing the corporate ladder, and then realized this wasn't for me. So I did what not a lot of people do and just quit. So I quit my job and
I bet your wife loved that.
Yeah, well, luckily at that time we weren't married. So
gotcha.
But I did quit my job another time when I was married. So we'll get to that. That was probably another veering or a rooming or something or another. So
That'd probably count as a veer if you change course, right?
Yeah. So my first veer, probably first big veer would be when I left Chicago, lived there for 3 years, worked in corporate America. And then I just decided to quit, pack up my big travel backpack and go to South America. So I went to South America for a couple months. My wife is actually from there originally. So we visited her family for a couple weeks in Colombia. And then
neat.
She had to go back to work in Raleigh. And I stayed and traveled for another 6 or 7 weeks. So I went around South America and figured and realized that I was not going to go back to a corporate job for the long term. So
how's your Spanish?
It's okay. I can understand it pretty well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's better than mine, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I can get around just fine with it. I can understand it, but speaking it is a different story. So
Sure. Understood.
But yeah, that's not relevant. So we will.
Oh, come on. It's fun.
Yeah. So that was kind of the initial foray into leaving corporate world and doing something else. So I moved to Raleigh, and got a corporate job to hold me over until I realized what I really want to do, and that's when I found TGA. So that was when I quit my job without another job while with my wife. So quit my job, and
How did she freak out on you?
Probably internally. I don't think she expressed it. I'm sure she was freaked out.
Right.
Luckily, when I said, "Trust me, this is going to work," I guess she believed me enough to not leave. So that's always a plus.
That's always she didn't leave. There you
Yeah. So and having a finance background definitely helped. So I was financially planning ahead to quit my job for the second time. So.
Gotcha.
So invested in my first TGA franchise here in Raleigh, and over the course of 4 or 5 years, grew that to 4 franchises, about 40 plus employees, and then decided to make another veer and sold it at the end of last year in 2015. So sold all my franchises, and then I had the opportunity to work with TGA at the franchisor level. So now I get to help other people make that same decision of leaving corporate America or leaving a job or just starting another entrepreneurial venture in doing a business that they love, impacting kids, working from home, all the good stuff that goes with being your own boss.
Right. But now,
So, yeah.
now you got a job again.
Yeah, I sort of have a job. Luckily, I get to do it from home. And
Oh, wow. That's cool.
yeah, so TGA is actually headquartered in California. And,
Right. You said El Segundo. And
El Segundo.
You get to visit every once in a while. I used to work in El Segundo.
Yeah,
That's
so
where the Air Force Base is.
okay, yeah, so it's
Okay.
yeah, I've been there several times. It's right by the airport.
Right. That's where the Air Force Base is too. Wow. Cool.
Perfect.
I don't
Imagine
even
that.
now where TG where in El Segundo is it?
Do you know where there's a Mattel building? Do you know?
I do exactly. That's right.
It's right.
Yeah, that's
it's right across, right across the parking lot from there. It's on Grand.
Continental and Grand or something.
Grand. Yep, it's on Grand. You
Very
got
good.
it. So that's TGA headquarters, but we have a East Coast headquarters in my home office. So that's where I work out of.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's kind of a job, but it's not really because it's fun, and I still have the opportunity to actually run another business as well. I have an e-commerce store that sells wood products. So yeah, still my own boss and still helping other business owners get to where they want to go or getting people out of their corporate grind to do something rewarding and fun. So it's I don't dread Mondays anymore.
Good for you. Yeah, that's a good veer when you find something that's a little bit scary going into it, probably.
Yes, if you're scared, it's probably a good thing, right?
Probably. So now let's talk a little bit about what it's like working at home. Do you have like family there with you, or a dog, or is your wife home, or is she at work too?
Yeah, so my wife is home, and we actually have a newborn baby that's about a month old.
Oh, wow.
At the time of this. So yeah,
you don't have anything. You don't have any problem being like that. I'm at home alone going crazy feeling. So that's
right. Yeah. So I have my own office. I can shut the door. Right now the door is shut. So when the door is shut,
then you're working.
My wife knows, don't bother me. So it works. It works out well. I've been working from home for 5 years now. So really just as long as you're organized and motivated and plan ahead and realize that there is no boss telling you what to do and you got to make those decisions.
Yeah. And you have to manage yourself basically.
Right. And if you don't, you're not going to make any money. So that's probably the alternative is go back to corporate America. And I wasn't going to let that happen. So I made sure to stay on top of things. So yeah, so working from home is awesome. And I encourage anybody that can run their own business and own their own business from home. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And you've also mentioned that, it's rewarding work.
Correct. Exactly. So when you do something that has an end goal that's rewarding, that's really what made my decision to leave corporate America. There was literally no reward in there, and I didn't want to work in a job for 40 years and then realize I added no value to nobody except some stockholders and some business owners. So I'd rather have some reward at the end, build a financial future for the family, as well as help other people. So when I was running my franchise, it's rewarding to see, thousands of kids go through your program every year and the impact you make and the stories they tell you and their parents tell you. And now I can do that on a bigger scale of helping people all around the world do the same with their franchise.
So how does it work? I mean, like say I have a franchise, right? Mm-hmm. And what do I do? Do I go out to school districts and just do a pitch?
Yeah, so TGA, obviously, with being a franchise, provides all the stuff you need. So it's got all the sales material, marketing material, curriculums, equipment vendors, all that. We have our own line of equipment and everything. So yeah, so basically you go out to schools and say, hey, we want to run an after school or a before school enrichment program. We provide all the equipment, all the coaches. We do all the work, handle all the registration. All we need is a place to play. So once you get that meeting with the district, you're going to close it 90% plus of the time because.
Wow, really?
So yeah, I mean the district has nothing to lose. You're enriching the kids' lives, giving them more opportunities to stay active after school or before school.
Well, they're always looking for. I worked a temp job for about a year and a half at Inglewood Unified School District, and they're always looking for that gap between when the 2:30 bell and then when parents can pick them up is usually. A lot later.
Yes, and that's the biggest at-risk hours for youth.
Yes.
If they're going home to an empty house. We were all kids once. That's probably a recipe for disaster.
Well, I was in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, so
there wasn't. There was nothing to do.
Right. Well, I walked home from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. Because
the population.
You can walk through Menominee, Michigan, like in probably an hour.
Yeah, and everybody you see would know who you are, and they know who your parents are. Yeah. So they're going to
almost like when I think about my childhood, it reminds me a lot of the Shire in Lord of the Rings, and it's still like that, really. Well, maybe not as much, but when I was a kid, for sure. Growing up in the 70s.
Yeah. So
completely different than Flint where you were.
Yeah. So I was just outside of Flint, but our town was really small as well. My graduating class was like 100. So.
Wow. That is tiny.
Yeah. So everybody knew who you were and you knew everybody's parents and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, at most schools, they're always looking for something to fill those hours.
Especially in cities, for sure.
Yeah, and whether it's before school or after school. So we provide everything. We don't need any manpower from them, no teachers, no teacher aides, no administrative work. So we really handle everything and make it easy for them, make it easy for the parents. Obviously, it makes it convenient for the parents because they don't have to drive their kids anywhere to participate in, athletic programs. They just have to pick them up at school later in the day than they normally would. So it kind of works out for everybody. So once you get that meeting with whoever's making the decision, every district is different. But, once you get that meeting, it's usually a slam dunk because if anything, like I said, the districts might make money. They might charge you to use their facilities, or you might give back money to help facilitate some sort of fundraising effort that they have. So it's really a win-win for everybody. And at the same time, you're building a business and, getting the word out there.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so that's what's happening.
That's what's happening in the Paul Maskill world. So, I was just checking out your stuff, and you just closed down a podcast of your own. You had to put it on pause for a while, right?
Yeah. So when I sold my franchises here end of 2015, I was doing basically 3 different things. So I was working with TGA more on a consultant level, not full time. Running an e-commerce store, which we still have, doing handmade wood products that So my dad was actually he's done hardwood floors his whole life. So
oh wow,
I sort of have a knack for woodworking, not as much as him, or I never will. But so we have an e-commerce store doing that, and then I started up a podcast just to see what's happening. And I always like learning and interviewing people and meeting people, and
right.
And then. Yeah, it is. Obviously, you've been doing it for a while. It's it's fun.
It's a fun way to meet new people, right?
Yes, and you learn when you're interviewing someone. You probably learn more than you do, doing a lot of other things. So so basically, I had those 3 things going on, and then an opportunity came up to kind of go with TGA full time. The e-commerce store is taking off, and then, like I said, we just had a baby. So I didn't think I could do all of those things.
That's a lot.
very well. So I closed
the
down
baby is a full-time job in and of itself.
Yes. So between a baby and running a business and then working with TGA full time, my plate is full enough. So I'll probably start up another podcast, interviewing business people, and just it's fun. That's really what I enjoyed about it. So I'll probably do that again once everything settles down.
Maybe when the baby gets a little bit older and or the e-commerce business is kind of a little bit more autopilot-y.
Yes, that is the plan. So we're kind of bootstrapping the e-commerce business. So once you get it all refined in marketing systems and order processing systems,
and that's probably pretty cool for you because it seems like you've got some automation. Kind of experience under your belt already, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I love building automations and systems and making things more efficient than they are in the current state. So that's kind of my forte is automation and systems and processes, and then delegating and putting the right people in place, which works out in the franchising world because that's really what you're doing. You're building a proven system that you can replicate across any really demographic or market.
Right. Yeah. And, I think, when people, I don't know, you've done podcasting, right? So whenever, every 6 months or so, somebody will just out of the blue say, hey, I'm working on my podcast. I was wondering about this question. Right. And, it's just like, man, it's like, I can't sign up to build a podcast for you because it's an amazing amount of work. But once you get it set up, it's not.
Right. Yeah. You just got to, it's like building
front-loaded.
Yeah. You build a foundation, like if you're building a business or a house, you build a foundation solid, then everything's pretty much systems and automation. You got your hosting set up, you got your editing down, you got how you upload it, you got your show notes, all that stuff. Once it's built, then it's just fun to interview people and get it edited and roll it out.
Yeah, you're rolling. Once you get it rolling, you're rolling. But
it takes time.
From zero to something is a mountain of work, and it's a million little details, and sometimes more technical than most people are accustomed to.
Correct.
Yeah,
exactly. So
I had one guest on my show. So what I do is, if you've got like a blog or a podcast, you had a podcast, but I always ask, hey, what's your RSS feed, right?
Right.
And I usually do that somewhere in the pre or the post, right?
Right.
And if they don't know what that is, then I say, never mind.
We'll skip that. We'll skip that part.
Right. So if they know what their RSS feed is, then I take their RSS feed and I load it into my social oomph account, right? And every time they post something, I basically repost it for them on my Twitter accounts. Right. It's a nice, man. Yeah, it's a nice little easy thing. It takes like 5 minutes, right? As long as they know. So I screwed up a couple of times because I won't say who, but somebody, didn't even know. And, no judgment, just, hired somebody to do all the technical stuff. So when I said, give me your RSS feed, she's like, I don't know what that is. Should I ask my tech guy? And I'm like, okay. And I never heard back. So I thought, well, maybe I can go figure out what her RSS feed is anyway.
Right.
And I thought I did. So then I plugged it into my system, right? And I don't know what was going on with her stuff, but it would have like most everything right. But then the link would be to some website in Spanish. Right. And she's yelling at me saying, hey, what are you doing? The post is right, but the link is wrong. And I'm like, okay, I'll shut that off. And I really don't know why it's doing that. And neither do you. So I guess we just can't do that.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is, before you delegate something, you should understand what you're delegating.
Amen. Right. Yeah.
That's how I see it. Even when I delegate anything to anybody, you have a lot more respect from anybody if you say, hey, can you go do this? And here's how, or here's the resources, and then let me know. But if you don't know what you don't know, then don't get mad at somebody for trying to help you out.
Yeah, it was really awkward. I mean, I shut it off and then I apologized, and I haven't put it in again because, it's the weirdness of, not really knowing how to ask the question. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah. I think I figured it out. I think her original RSS feed was screwed up somehow. So anyway, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. It's just a nice thing to do. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. So let's talk a little bit about some of more of your origin story. So what were you like in high school? Were you like the nerd guy or jock guy? You were probably a jock, weren't you?
No, I was probably in the middle. Like I didn't really get all excited about high school or high school prom. I worked a lot and played a lot of sports. So played golf, which is why I got into TGA.
TGA, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I played golf since I was 5, so I was always golfing, played basketball, and then worked at the golf course pretty much during the summer full time, and then during the school year in the afternoons and on the weekend. So
I've had another. So when you got to college, were your buddies saying, "Hey," telling all these stories about partying in high school, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah, kind of. I mean. Right? I didn't see the value. I mean, I guess I was always a business finance numbers person, and I always kind of looked at like my reasoning for not going to prom was why would I spend $500 on some girl that I'm not going to see after I graduate? So I'd rather go work that weekend and make several $100s, which will get me closer to where I want to go. So I guess I was always kind of business minded. I started working when I was 14, washing dishes, making $5.15 an hour, and my first raise was a dime, so I got up to $5.25 an hour.
Whoa!
And I worked that job until I could drive. Once I could drive, then I worked outside at the golf course because then I could legally drive a golf cart, so I could work out in the outside area of the golf course, picking the range, and doing that kind of stuff. So I actually worked there all the way through college, pretty much, and so that's kind of what I was like in high school.
So that's kind of the jock. Wow, that's not even. You don't even have a type.
No, there wasn't many of me. Like,
not at all. Good for you.
I've kind of always done my
Nobody
own thing.
is. That's the thing is like we all kind of cluster into these things and identify with them, but everybody's unique. You're not really who you hang out with, but you're just more obviously that than most folks I've talked to. Yeah. So what was it? Was it a big shock when you got to college?
Not really.
No. Okay.
I mean, I was like, I think
you were still kind of close to home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was still fairly close to home. College. To me, college was really just kind of functional. It's something, or at least that's what they tell you your whole life. That's what you need to do. So you have to go to college and get a degree and get a good job and climb the corporate ladder. So I was just doing what everybody else was doing. Once I got a real job, a corporate job, then that's when I started questioning, why does everybody do the same thing? And that was probably the first veer, at least in my mind, was questioning the system itself of, why does everybody tell you to go get a job and work for the same company for 40 or 50 years?
That idea has been over for a while. But I think I get it because it's like when you first get your very first job, there's this period of disillusionment, right?
Yes, totally.
Yeah. I went through that when I was in the military.
Yeah.
And it's to me, it was, what was it? How can I say it? It's like, the world was different than what the book said, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I think now when you look at kids that are 18 years old and you're telling them that they have to make a decision what they want to do for the rest of their life, that's like absurd. They don't even know what they want to do next week, let alone
Hey, and they get it. They kind of like, and they're not afraid to say that that's stupid.
Right.
Which is nice because we all thought it was stupid, but just went,
we just did
okay. Right. We just did it.
Pick a degree, spend $100,000 and then realize 5 years later that you want to go do something
That was a really
else.
bad idea. Right.
Yeah. So then you go get another degree and spend another $100,000, or you go get your master's and spend another $100,000.
Right.
So college was really just kind of, I worked full time in college, went to class. I was the type of person that I'd never missed a class, but I never read a book. So I just learned everything in class, and because I hated reading textbooks, and I figured if I can go to class all the time, I'll learn everything I need to learn there, and never have to read a textbook because that stuff is boring.
No kidding. Oh my goodness.
So when I was in college, I still worked at the golf course. Actually, coached my high school golf team while I was there too, and I worked for an attorney as well. So I kind of had 3 jobs. And
you're a bit of a workaholic, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I still am, and now I actually love what I do. So now it's even harder to not work, but I enjoy it. So it beats the alternative of, like, I don't know, getting lost in a television and watching TV for 6 hours.
That's true. That's true. That's probably my addiction. That's the one that's like stayed with me the longest is the TV addiction.
Yeah.
And I know where it came from because when I went back home to Michigan to visit my parents, they're like the TV on people. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's always on. If they're in the house, a TV, one of 1, 2, 3. There's one in the kitchen. There's one in the living room. There's one in the bedroom. Oh my God. I'm like, okay, now I know why it's like when it's time for me to chill out. My first idea is, where's the TV?
Where's the TV? And where's the remote?
Where's the remote? Oh, and oh, by the way, I should be snacking too.
Yeah. And then binge on Netflix for the next 12 hours.
Oh, my goodness. You got to love Netflix, though, right?
You got it.
It's so much better than cable anyway.
It is. We actually don't even have cable.
Yeah, so we're off cable, too.
We're those cord-cutting rebels. So
amen.
Save money and spend $8 a month on Netflix.
Yeah,
or whatever.
They just upped it. Now you're going to get an email if you're on the $8 plan. It's gonna go up to $9.99 in August. But you do have the option of downgrading your account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to be out going from $8 to $9.99.
Yeah. That $1.99 probably not worth it.
There's the finance guy coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a 25% increase.
So do you still golf for fun?
Yeah, I still golf for fun, play tennis for fun, and play basketball. So I still stay pretty active. Basketball, golf, and tennis are kind of the 3 sports that I play on a regular basis.
Wow.
And so that's probably my idea of fun other than work and chasing down food trucks and new restaurants. That's kind of my wife and I's thing is food trucks and new restaurants and trying anything that's out there. So
yeah, my wife and I do that quite a bit. We like those restaurant weeks.
Yes. Yeah, those are big here as well. So that's probably where we spend our leisure money is food and sports.
So talk a little bit about the difference of, say, like working in a business versus working on a business.
Yeah, so that's really
that's a big deal, right?
That is a huge
especially
deal.
When you're a business owner, you don't want to
correct
work in it, right?
Yeah, so working in it is really the business needs you to survive. So a lot of people will start their own business because they're good at something. So for instance, my father is very good at hardwood floors. So he has a hardwood floor company, but he works in his business. So he does all of the work. He does all the manual labor. He's never trained anybody else to how to do it. And unfortunately, the business is not going to survive without him there. Whereas if you're working on your business, you've transitioned out of that. You've put systems, people, and processes in place to work in your business. So then you can work on your business. So working on your business could be many things: quality control, sales, marketing, bigger picture stuff, rolling out new products, rolling out new services, looking at other opportunities and spending the time on revenue generating, opportunity generating tasks instead of keeping your business afloat. So in the TGA world, working in your business, most people start out working in your business because you really want to perfect it before delegating it. So it kind of goes back to that. You're not going to delegate anything that you don't know how to do. So, I mean, the first 2 or 3
you're going to have to learn the operation first.
Exactly. You're 100% right. So the first 2 or 3 years, I was really learning the business, how I want it done. TGA is going to provide you all the tools you need, all the curriculums, all the systems, technology, everything you need. But then it's how do I want to use these tools? So then I really built all the systems that I wanted to, use and implement and processes. And then I started delegating. So once I started delegating, I started creating training videos, standard operating procedures, all
and
these
you did
kind
this
of
all on your own?
Correct. Yeah. Wow. So I think
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work up front. it's like building that foundation like we talked about before. But once
Yeah.
it's built, you never have to do it again. So I am an avid podcast listener, so I learn just about all sorts of different pieces of technology that help, make your business more passive. So using screen recording software, using tools like Slack or Join.me to do virtual trainings, all these other things. There's so much technology out there to help you get to where you want to go quicker, faster, cheaper.
Right.
Really just building an organization so that way the business doesn't need you to survive. Then you can spend your time doing other things, whether it's start another business, go do more sales, go do more marketing, training, quality control, all the other things that are really going to help get your business to the next level versus doing all the admin work and answering the phone calls and doing emails and
Right.
in the TGA world, putting together rosters, for class rosters and dropping off equipment and all these other things that other people are very capable of doing if you just provide them the right tools, the right support, and the right training and time. You just got to invest a little bit of time in your staff, and then they can take it and run with it as long as you're there for the support.
So did you did like 4 different franchises? Is that right?
Yeah, so it was technically 4 franchises, but I ran them as one. So I just ran them as one.
Oh, okay.
Ran them as one business.
Right.
The way TGA works is you get a geographic area. So when I first started, I invested in a golf franchise in West Wake County. That's where I live, Wake County.
Mm-hmm.
And then I invested in a tennis franchise in the same location. So I was basically able to go to all the golf schools in West Wake County and say, hey, now we're running tennis programs. Are you on board? And then they said yes. So we basically were able to double our business and
Nice.
without too much sales legwork. And then, once we got that kind of under control, we expanded to East Wake County with golf and tennis. So we had 4 franchises, 2 golf, 2 tennis, but I really just ran them as one TGA of Wake County. And then I had kind of directors, full-time people in place to run those specific geographic areas.
So the thing that you did for about how long did you go from how long did you spend working in versus working on?
Probably a good 2 years.
2 years, right.
Being a finance guy, I didn't want to pay somebody for something that I could do as long as I had the time, and I had the time. But once
Sure, no. And I think it's important, like you said, to put your head in the bucket, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Because
I think
you can't, you're a little detached if you're trying to direct.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. And your employees, I don't think you'll have as much respect for your employees if you're just kind of delegating everything and don't really know how to do it or
Right.
when it should be done or the right way it should be done, really not giving them any guidance. So probably the first 2 years really figured out the business, worked like crazy to get it scaled up pretty quickly, and then started slowly putting people in place to take off tasks, whether it's doing paperwork or reporting, and then transitioning them into more and more roles, and then really, ended up with 4 people that were more or less full-time doing all of the working in the business type of stuff so that I didn't have to do that anymore.
Right. It's like you're trying to make smaller versions of you.
Yes, that's exactly right. And if you provide them everything you need to do it,
Right.
basically there's no way
You're
that they can screw it
downloading
up.
this knowledge into another person.
Yes. Yeah, and you give them that knowledge in more than one way, whether it's
Right.
videos typed up, step-by-step procedures. There's really no way to screw it up. So you make the room for error almost none, and then you can really start scaling your business.
The metaphor that I think of now that I've been having this conversation with you is this the first time this has ever came to my mind. what I just said, like you're making a smaller version of you into other people.
Uh-huh.
There was this sci-fi novel. Now I can't remember the name of it. The author is Greg Bear.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of like a weird, well, it's science fiction, so of course it's weird.
It was pretty weird to begin with.
Right. But there was this one character from the Earth future, right? And the technology of that Earth future, you could literally make a copy of yourself.
Yeah, so that's what you're trying to do when you're growing your business.
But he wouldn't make a whole copy of himself, right? He had several of these things, they called them partials, right? Just enough of you to do the task.
But not the whole thing.
Not all of you.
They didn't want to be all of you.
No, that'd be too much. Right?
Yeah,
you
that'd be
don't
weird.
want to make a whole copy of you. That's a little Star Trek.
Yeah, that'd be too weird.
That'd be too weird. Just enough, Anyway, So let's see here. Your website is franchisetga.com, and the special link for Vroom Vroom Veer listeners is VVV.
You got it. franchisetga.com/triple V. There's some
What are
good
we going to
information.
find there again?
You're going to find a little bit more information about the TGA opportunity. If you're looking to be your own boss, set your own schedule, and have fun along the way, there's an opportunity to schedule a call with me. If you want to schedule a discovery call, learn a little bit more about it, learn from my experience, see what you're looking to do in your area. And then what else is there? And then all the steps that it takes to become a TGA owner. So that's what you can find there. There's also a free survey if you want to download a survey to see if owning a franchise is right for you. I think it's 7 questions, pretty simple. Rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, and then you'll get an answer and see if it's right for you. So yeah, some good resources there, and you can always reach out to me on Twitter. Just Paul Maskill is my Twitter handle. You can always email me, pmaskill@playtga.com.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Talk about an available person.
Yeah, so that's
Paul.
Yes, connect with me if you're looking to bring TGA to your area.
And get out of that spreadsheet brain-numbing job that you don't like anymore.
Yes, you only live once, and if anybody follows Gary Vaynerchuk, he had a thing that he posted recently, you're going to die. So everyone's going to die.
That's true.
So you might as well make the most out of what you have here. And to me, it made no sense to do a job that you hate or really dislike for 40 years and then enjoy life when you're 65, 70 years old.
That's an old idea that needs to go. Right.
That didn't make sense. So you might as well enjoy life the whole time.
Yeah.
And do something fun and make money and make friends and network and impact kids and families along the way. That's how I saw it.
And that doesn't, I had that revelation just the other day. I can't remember who it was that said that. Oh, I'm reading a book, Nassim Taleb, the Black Swan book. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I have heard of him. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
It's a really good book. He's so funny. Super academic, a little bit financy, but mostly, anyway, he's just funny. But what he said was, regardless of whatever else you think, your physical body is going to go.
Yeah.
After that, we don't know, Believe what you want to believe, but we pretty much 100% sure know that everybody in a body is not going to be around forever in that body. And well, maybe, that might be amended in 60 years or so, but we'll see. As of today, you will die.
You will die.
Death is not optional at this point.
You might as well. To me, it was a no-brainer. The risk was, what happens if this doesn't work? I can always go back and get another corporate job.
You can always go back and get another job. And I've come full circle myself. And so I think, to me, it's like you do what's necessary, right?
Yep.
And that's what you do. You don't do anything that's not necessary. And, and so if you don't need money, which, I'm in that situation right now. The only money I need is like my wife yelling at me saying, go
pick up dinner.
Well, how about, but wouldn't it be nice if we could make the pile bigger or, right?
It would be nice if you could upgrade your Netflix without having to worry about it.
Right. Well, that's not the sort of thing that we worry about. She's got a job. I've got Air Force retirement. The rest is sort of like gravy already,
Yeah.
So when I went and tried to do the business as a business, I was like, that's too much work. I'm not like you. You've got this work gene, right? That you just really dig it. I don't have this such gene. So no. I mean, I really enjoyed setting up a podcast that didn't feel like work to me. And I made it necessary, right? It doesn't need to make money though. That was my big thing was I would rather just, do the podcast and say, maybe it'll make money. Maybe it doesn't. And I'll go out and get, some sort of easy job.
Right.
Something fun. To me, something fun. Amen. Yes. Because being an entrepreneur is a lot of hard work.
It is. It's
And it's,
people on the outside only see the success stories. They don't see all the work that goes into that.
right. It's freedom, but it comes at a cost.
Correct. It's what do you want long term, and what are you willing to put in the short term to get
Right.
there? And unfortunately, most people in the society are instant gratification. So it's like, well, I'm not going to get a paycheck next week, so why would I do this and continue to try and make this work? So
It's worth it for the right kind of people.
yes, totally agree.
Right.
It's not for everybody.
It's
There's
not
a
for
reason.
everybody. Right.
There's a reason 90-something% of the workforce works for somebody else, because that's easier and it's reactive. Your boss tells you what to do and then you go do it and then you get rewarded with a paycheck. So
right.
and but
if and I've started to, there's a lot of folks, whenever I would go and look at is entrepreneurship right for me, the answer always came back no.
yeah.
Right. And I was like, meh, but I can change. As it turns out, maybe not.
Yeah. But you're having fun.
That's the key to me is, dialogue. I want to have dialogues and conversation. I want to be positive, and I want to be entertaining. Right. So all of those values to me, they all get hit when I do this podcast. So
perfect.
That's what makes it valuable to me. And, I would I do it for free? I am.
It's actually costing you probably a little bit of money now.
A little bit of money for me to do
to host your website and host your podcast.
It does cost money, yes, but
and software,
it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's a relatively cheap hobby.
Yep.
There you go. All right,
Sweet.
Paul. This has been a blast.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
All right.
Enjoyed it as well. Take it easy out there in California.
You as well, and try to stay cool in Raleigh, where it's probably hot and muggy.
Yeah, you are right. It is hot and muggy, but
you have central air, so
we have central air, and I'll take a hot summer over a cold Michigan winter or Chicago winter any day of the week.
Any day of the week, for sure.
You got it. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you again. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.